Hello. Welcome to episode one of the Pace Pals podcast, which is a speedrunners podcast. I have my guest here today, Jess.
Hello.
Um, this is the first episode, so I hope you guys enjoy uh the content, and we're gonna get right into it. So, Jess, if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Sure. Obviously I'm Jess. I'm mainly a Majora's Mask speedrunner. Um, I've been speedrunning it since about like October 2018, and I'm still playing it to this day, though sometimes inconsistently, but still trying to keep at it.
You know what? And that is perfectly fine. So, uh, what do you want anything? Do you want to like a specific topic you want to start off with, or do you want to just go down the list?
You can just start throwing out topics or questions in any
Okay.
order. I don't mind.
So what inspired you to start speedrunning, and how did you like get introduced to it?
Um, Kind of like the root was like Majora's Mask was always my favorite game as a kid. I didn't discover speedrunning for a while though. I think around like mid to late 2017, I found ZFG on YouTube somehow. He was playing OT. Um, and eventually I found like an op stream Trev and Pope Squidward. And there was a point in like mid 2018 I tried to learn the game, but I gave up because the tricks were too hard. But I came back like that summer, early fall, and I ended up sticking to it and learning all masks.
Okay. So yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Um, I you know I was a speedrunner for a little bit. You actually inspired me a little bit to start the Glitchless. But I came up watching like Pope Squidward at first, ZFG and up and all that. But you were the one that actually inspired me to start speedrunning any percent glitchless. You and Feely, another another speed speedrunner. So um another question is, can you walk us through your thought process when you're trying to optimize a speed run?
Um, I think I think when I was like maybe in like 2020 or 2021 when I was like really trying to get better and like save the frames that like Trevor and Op were saving over me in Glitchless. Kind of the first thing I did was I like I got footage and I would just like slap it in like a video editing software and just like see where I was losing time exactly and try to improve that. And these days when I'm just like comparing to myself, I'll just like watch back what I did and try to think about like maybe how I can like do some movement tighter or like maybe route something differently. But a lot of it is like just trying to see what other people do better or trying to like critically analyze what I could do better myself.
And a lot of it is just like it's just time and practice and all that as well, right?
Yep. And like just a lot of watching people. That's like that's one of my biggest tips is like watch people or ask questions and just try to pick up on what kind of strats or movement that people do.
Okay. What do you think the hard in your category that you run? What do you think the hardest either section or trick?
I would say I'm not running glitches 70% right now, but that's kind of like my main category. So I'll say for that category, it's definitely the alien segment or Great Bay Temple. Aliens because that segment is in-game time based. So you can play it pretty tight to where you have like very little room for mistakes, and if you make a mistake, your run's either dead at the top level or you have to like play the inverted song of time to make it to aliens, and it's a rather long segment in the route I ran. In GBT, isn't in-game time based, but it's just a lot of hard tricks and movement back to back, like the whole dungeon.
Yeah, I think mine was it was in Great Bay Temple as well. It's that one water room with the water wheel. And because it's Japanese exclusive, um when you freeze the waterfall, I don't know if you know what room I'm talking about, but
Yeah,
in
yeah.
it the platform doesn't, automatically, go flat or anything in the English
Yeah, like it
version.
does in English.
Yeah, Japanese, it's a lot harder because you have to time it correctly, right? But
Yep.
actually, I think it's just a movement type for that room in Japanese, right?
Yep. Yeah, on the Japanese version you just, or like on English too, but like the strat is to just like Zora dive out of the water and jump slash onto the moving like paddle or whatever you want to call it.
That I could not do that for the life of me. It
I
was
remember
it
when
was too hard.
I remember when I first started Glitchless 90% in 2019. I probably had like two or three PBs where I tried it and I didn't get it, and the very first run I got it, I like popped off like super hard, and like eventually I just did it enough to where it was just like second nature. But yeah, I definitely was not able to get it at first either.
And that's where practice and all that comes in, and like testing things and so on and so forth. Like, you're not going to be good at it to begin with, but if you try again, sooner or later it will become muscle memory. You'll understand certain, like, you know details and like stuff like that. And that's what a lot of speedrunners focus on right now, is that they probably have, for setting up a trick or a glitch or something, they have certain designs, that textures that they look at in the game, and that helps them.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I guess like mentioning that, I think another point in like optimization is trying to understand like all the variables in like a trick or movement, and also like just trying to make it as easy, like just try to make it as easy for yourself as possible. Like if you're doing a hard strat, try to find like a visual cue or audio cue, just like anything.
yeah, exactly. um so how would you approach learning a new speed run, and what is the resources that you would have to rely on or rely on?
I've actually messed with Mario 64 a little bit, like a couple months ago. Um, I would say like that game has really good resources. Like they have a whole like wiki with like literally everything on it. Um, my methodology was just like go- going through the run in order and doing like, let's say like a Lakitu skip. Like I just keep grinding Lakitu skip until I like get it once or get it a few times, and then I move on just to kind of like start to build that consistency early.
enough
And maybe
enough
like,
to enough to get that muscle memory, like, building, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I would also like try a few like hard methods of like Lakitu skip, but if I couldn't get them, I would just do easier ones since I'm not familiar with the game. But yeah, it's like it's definitely like a lot of just grinding tricks like in the order of the run, just to build that early muscle memory, just have good practice habits.
Okay. And what console do you usually do these runs on? Like actual
Majora's Mask.
hardware, or did you use like emulator or something to start off with?
For Majora's Mask, I started on the Wii Virtual Console because I've kind of just always had the Wii Virtual Console version like ever since it came out, and that's the most common version that's ran, so it just worked out that way.
Okay. Um. So, how do you balance speed and precision in your runs? And like, what challenges do you face in doing so?
Um, I think a lot of my strat choices like some of it definitely comes down to like how long the category is, and then some of it will also come down to how consistent I feel on a trick. Like if there's like a small time save that there's basically no risk going for, like very little risk, I'm like never gonna not do those basically. But yeah, a lot of it just depends on the length of the run and just how consistent I feel. I definitely sometimes do struggle with like trying to like like wanting to do like all the hard stuff, and like there are times where I like dial back like a strat or two just because like trying to go for everything, and it's a little bit hard sometimes.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me as of right now?
Um, I guess I'm curious because I haven't asked like a lot of newer like runners about this, but I'm curious like how you approach like learning and practicing the game.
So for me, it was a lot of watching. I'm a like a visual learner. When it comes to anything, like even in like real world life or anything like that, I'm uh a visual learner. Um, like I can pick up the movement a little bit faster if I watch someone do it. Um, and that's why like a lot of speedrunners, I like it when a lot of speedrunners have like the controller on their screen,
Yeah, me too.
or they talk about movement a little bit. Like how Linkus, who is a Wind Waker speedrunner, he does he does a lot of YouTube videos explaining and going over how he does manual super swim. Um, and like he goes over all the controls, what frame he looks at, the audio cue, so on and so forth. So that's how I do it, and I do it. I watch a lot of I watched you a lot, uh, Feely and Pope Squidward. Uh, you know, watching you three and how certain glitches or movement, and so on and so forth like that. But for me, I run it on emulator because I do not have the Wii Virtual Console. So I'm currently stuck on emulator, but hopefully one day I will be able to be on Wii VC and learn a little bit more. But yeah, that's pretty much how I go look towards it, is just seeing and hearing how the streamer explains the controls, the movement, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm definitely also like pretty visual. Like, even though I've been playing the game for so long, like I still really like it when people have like input display for like a strat or something I'm trying to learn. Like, even though I've been playing for years, it's still very helpful to me when there's an input display.
And for me, as like a not as like a full-time speedrunner, but like I also like watching other people's perspectives, or like first time playing the game or first time, speedrunning it or anything. I like seeing their perspectives because a lot of things, it's just like how real world life is like an extra pair of eyes don't hurt,
Yeah.
and seeing someone else learn the game or watching their playthrough or something, it helps you learn, and you can be like, oh, maybe that, like, they do something that's a little bit faster than what you do in like the speed run or something, so you could try to like into put that into the speed run and see if you can go a little bit faster and so on and so forth. So that's what I like uh about like speedrunning and just regular casual gameplay as well, you know.
Yeah.
Um what are some of the most memorable moments you've experienced while speedrunning?
Um, like definitely like early on when I would learn like basically any trick, it always just felt super good. And like in more recent times, there are like a few PBs that stuck out. Like my first sub 230 in all masks I got back in like May 2019. Definitely not a good time now, but I was like at a level where that was like a really good time for me. And my 240 in Glitchless is still like by far my best speed run, and one that I probably like won't top for a while.
All right. Mine. What is mine? Like I only ran it for I think for like a couple months. I think my most memorable one was when finally started playing on the Japanese version, and I uh I think it was either one or two cycle phase 3 Majora, and then that and like the final hit. I think that was so like awesome in my mind. Like I went nuts.
Yeah, I think Majora is like actually like even in glitchless where you have more hearts and like power crouch stab, it's still tough when you're starting out, and like even as a top player, like it has some RNG to it. Like if you're trying to like kill Wrath fast, just shoot Wrath immediately. Like you can get hit by like a remains orb, or it can push you back and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tricky.
Um what is your favorite dungeon or side dungeons? Like the part leading up to the dungeon. You have any favorites?
Um, I actually like from a speedrunning perspective, I really like the egg collecting in Pirate's Fortress and like in Glitchless. Um Pinnacle Rock not so much, but I do really like Pirate's Fortress.
Now is it just because like the movement or
Yeah, mostly because of the movement, I would say.
okay. Um I think for me, I think it would be I think it would be Woodfall Temple Part 1 and Part 2. Especially if like you're still learning on it. In the glitches any percent. So in early on, you get the bow and then you warp out and then you come back and finish the dungeon later. So that's what I'm talking about, part 1 and part 2. I feel
Yeah.
like those parts are just very fluid. I love the music in there. And then I would have to say Icona Canyon as well. Like I like the movement there. Um and just like it's just so funny watching and playing and fighting the boss there as Deku Link, because you just do so much
Yeah.
damage. Uh
Yeah. Apparently those bubbles do like Great Fairy Sword slash damage or something.
yeah, I once I was told that, I think I did my next run um as Deku, and like I saved so much time.
It, I guess if we're talking about like the dungeons themselves, like definitely has to be Great Bay Temple for me.
Great Bay is
I,
very interesting. I've heard a lot that from is and this is just growing up from playing the games over the year, is that the Great Bay Temple was Water Temple's, like Ocarina of Time's Water Temple's like big brother in like the
yeah.
in how difficult it was. What in a speed run, what is like your how do I what is your I think I already asked this, but I'm not 100% sure. What is your like your least favorite part in a speed run?
Uh,
I'm not sure
in
if we
like
already went over this or not.
no,
Okay.
you asked about like favorite part.
Okay.
I guess like MM as a whole, definitely like first cycle. Um, I think glitchless any percent or just glitchless in general. Also, like compared to other categories, has like a slower beginning. Because like let's say like 100% NMG, you like get done with first cycle, you you go and buy your bomb bag and shoes, you're already like doing hidden owl hover, you're doing Piat grotto alternate exit, you're doing palace strats. Like it's just out of the gate immediately. But glitchless, you gotta do like all the stuff in the woods, and then it gets going when you get to like Deku Palace and Woodfall Temple.
There is a couple parts that I did not like on how the Japanese version ran. Um, One of them was in after first cycle when you hit Majora with the bubble and you get the ocarina, you learn the song, and then you come back. You replay the song, and then it has you pull out the ocarina again. I waited.
Yeah,
That was it was like it was a second or something, but I was like I was not expecting that. Um, so it was like it took me a second to realize, oh, I have to play, pull out the ocarina again because like in English, it automatically pulls it out. Um, Another was the boss fight of Twin Mold, like just trying to shoot it with the bow and arrow is like that is so hard. I actually had
yeah,
I think it was my first or second run that it was so bad I had to reset time back to first cycle, go through the entire dungeon again, fight Twin Mold, and then fast forward time until I can get to Majora.
yeah. I think in like if there's one thing that's true amongst like basically every MM category that has Twin Mold is that it's the worst boss fight, at least in my opinion, or like the just like the hardest one to do consistently fast.
I think I don't like the mini boss on the inverted stone tower where you get the boss key. I forgot. I think it's
Yeah,
the Gomez or something.
yeah, yeah. It's like
I do
it's
not like that.
Gomez.
I do not like that boss. I think I died like a couple times. Even in like a casual playthrough, I think I died a couple times to that boss. Uh, how do you handle nerves and pressure during a run, especially when you're attempting world record or when you were like close and know you can get world record or like you're on a world record run?
Um, I think like a lot of it. I think the most nervous I've ever been was when I was entering Great Bay Temple in my current glitchless PB. I think the big thing I had to keep in mind was like I can afford time loss and still reach my gold time. I think also some of it is like eventually you do enough runs and you're on the pace you want like kind of deep into the run and like eventually that kind of like settles nerves a little bit once you've like experienced that a lot, but it's still really hard to control. Like I pretty much always end up losing time when I'm really nervous like that.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who can control it like super well. I just have to hope that I do it as best as possible.
Yeah, because like when you get nervous or anything, your mind, starts racing. You're trying to think of multiple. This is how like I took it is like because obviously I've done a little bit of speedruns, but it's like when you're ahead and you see that you're either even if it's just a PB or anything, it can get like this, but your hands start getting sweaty. You're thinking million miles per hour. You're trying to do steps way in advance, and that's when like that kicks in. When that kicks in, that's when you start making mistakes because you're focused on the future of the run and not where you're currently at. But yeah, for me, it's a lot like sweaty hands, um, nervousness, and stuff like that, and especially like while you're live, a lot of speedrunners do offline runs, but like majority of the time speedrunners are live recording attempts and all that. So it's
Yeah.
also that kind of weight as well is to talk to chat. Sometimes you could talk to chat, they kind of ease the tension and all that, and you're just like making conversation while you're playing the game. But sometimes like you do have to focus, and that's like when it can get really stressful because like one wrong move or something like that, the run could end. um but I think chat does come in clutch sometimes, and just like giving positive reinforcements and stuff like that. So I think chat kind of breaks the nerves a little bit. Sometimes they can go overboard, um, but they do, majority of the time they do come from the heart and help out the streamer and all that during a run. So
Yeah, I think like my biggest nervous habit. There are like parts of a run where I'm like not nervous and I don't really talk that much. I'm just kind of like, just kind of like doing like muscle memory stuff. But when I get nervous, sometimes I'll like start talking like a lot, just because like I'm trying to think less about like the game and like losing time. So I'll just like start just talking a bunch.
yeah, I'm the same way, and not even just in speedruns in general. It's like when when it's just quiet, and sometimes it's just this is just people, but when it's too quiet, you need to make noise, so you need to talk or anything, so you just start rambling about anything.
Yeah,
So it's like, so your mind, you can get your mind off the game. You're still on like airplane mode or whatever, like focusing on the game, but you're just rambling off sentences, trying to just make conversation, make noise, or whatever. I
yeah,
do that a lot in randomizers. I will just I will talk and just plan out my entire like what I'm gonna do, what my plan is. Oh, I'm gonna go from here to check to here, and then go here, and so on and so forth.
yeah. I think that's kind of like nerves is kind of where like the tactical time loss speedrun meme comes from, because it's like if you don't lose time up to like a certain point, you're gonna start getting nervous, and then you'll like probably lose time from that point, or you just like lose time early on so that like later on you're like less nervous. Like it's just hard for everything to go well, and especially in like a longer run.
Yeah. Um, what in because you said Majora's Mask is your favorite, and it is my favorite as well. What is your favorite mask in the game? I know it's not a speed run, type question, but we're still talking about video games. So like, and
Yeah,
this isn't just the transformation masks or anything. It's like all the masks that you can get in Majora's Mask. Do you have a favorite and a least favorite?
I think this is like obviously speedrunner, my speedrunner talking, but like probably Goron. I mean, even beyond speedrunning, like Goron is just like really a fun transformation to use. It's kind of it's different than like anything like Zelda had really done up to that point, and just like all the transformations in general, like that was like really interesting. But Goron is definitely my favorite. I don't know what my least favorite is. I don't. There's not like any like soup like offensively bad masks. Like some of them just like do nothing. But I don't know if there's one that's like looks just like awful, or I don't know. There's not any that come to mind that like I just think suck.
I think my favorite would have to be Bunny Hood.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I just love how like how fast you can run uh with the Bunny Hood. I think it's just like it helps you get places faster, so on and so forth. My least favorite, I'm trying to think, because like you said, there's a lot of masks that do a lot of things, and then there's like some masks that just have like one or two uses. And it's like those ones like you don't really use that often. Like the Great Fairy's mask, you use that if you're either like in speedrunning or casual, you use that quite often because you're collecting
Yeah.
the great fairies. Like that is a useful mask. I would have to say the couple's mask is like the most useless one. It's just one use and that's it. And I think it's
Yeah.
just you just talk to the mayor with the couple's mask and then you get a piece of heart and that's it.
If I guess like when it comes to usefulness, my least favorite is probably like circus leader's mask. Like actually does nothing practically. Like all you do
It has one use and that is only when it
to
is after aliens
yeah. It's
when you're with
even though like
Cremia.
you have to do that to like even get the circus leader's mask in the
Yeah.
first place. So
You
it's
know,
practically useless.
no. But did you know? Here's a fun fact as well. Did you know the creators of Majora's Mask? Because it was a certain team. They only had 1 year to make Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
I when I learned that I was like, and that's how like this game has so much detail and like so much story plot and all that because it's 3 days and you have like we were just saying you have masks that you need to do a certain series of events to get and then you have to go back in time to use that mask for other series of events, you know, and to make this type of game in like a year's time, that to me is just nuts.
Yeah. I would say like it's MM is often criticized for its like 4 dungeon count, but I think that kind of played in its favor a bit because as compared to like OOT, I feel like all of the areas are like just more interesting, more well designed, more like detailed. Like I think the smaller like main dungeon count like helped just like the atmosphere and how MM was designed overall.
I think so as well. So did you speed run MN in the English version at all? Or
I've finished a 100% glitchless run a few years ago, and I did that on English.
okay,
Um, I think that's probably. I mean, I've done rando like competitive rando in English. I've done bingos on English,
okay.
but
So
I've mostly done runs on the Japanese version.
so my question is, what is your favorite part on the English version, and what is your favorite? So it's just favorite and least, like your favorite part on the English version. It could either be, you know, a type of movement or you know, it's anything. Like for an example, for me, it is in Great Bay. So my favorite thing in Great Bay is that you can actually climb the ledge to get up to the lab on English. But in Japanese, you actually have to, you know, do the dolphin jump to land on that ledge, and you cannot grab it in Japanese. That's what like I'm talking about. Do you have like a, you know, favorite area in English, but it's different in Japanese, or
My favorite English thing is a. This is like kind of like controversial amongst MM runners, but my favorite English thing is the Zora swimming. So the way the Zora swimming works, when you initiate a swim, it's different on English and Japanese. When you initiate a swim on English and you like hold a direction, like let's say you're just facing forward and you start a swim, you hold left, you're gonna like go like straight left like immediately. But on Japanese, you kind of like just gradually go left. It's not like just immediate.
okay. There was
And
a
I definitely I prefer how it works on English.
there was another
Also,
thing that I saw or that I learned about the Zora swimming is that you can't when you are stationary, you cannot use the Zora's magic power.
yeah, that's what I was just about to say. That's also a benefit to the English Zora swimming.
Yeah, because as I said earlier, it's like I ran it on emulator. So when I first started, it was English, and in Pirates Fortress, in one of the like the tanks, there's like some fish and all that. I forgot what they're called, but when you hookshot to the roof, you fall in, you turn as you transform into Zora. They all try to swarm you, and you can just hold the button down, and you'd have your electric field pop out. Apparently, you can't do that in the Japanese version. You have to be physically swimming in order to activate that the magic power.
Yeah, that I think the main area where like that has an impact is the Gyurg fight.
Yeah.
Because on Japanese you have to like swim into Gyurg like on a side, but on English you can kind of just like surface and sink and just like sit in one spot and just kill Gyurg without really doing much.
I think they also changed the swimming. I think they changed it, the mechanic, the Zora swimming mechanic 3 times. So
Yeah,
English version, Japanese, and then in the
and then
DS.
MM3D.
Yeah.
MM3D
Because
Zora swimming is just awful.
it's so bad because you have to use magic no matter what. It's like
Yep.
in order to swim fast you are consuming magic, and I think that is just so bad. And like
Yeah.
I also think that, by the way, Majora's Mask 3D is the only Majora's Mask game I actually like 100%. By the way,
Oh really?
because I was only able to do it because of the gyro controls, and I could aim and shoot. I cannot aim and shoot on English or Japanese off of a GameCube controller. Like if you and I went head to head in like the Clocktown archery, you would beat me every single time. Like I am so bad at the archery games. But I was able to beat it on the 3DS, so you know I'm still taking that as a win.
Yeah, for sure.
But another thing is because a lot of people speedrun MM3DS as well. Um, and I did not like how they changed the bosses a little bit, where they added the eyeball.
Yeah, they definitely like streamlined the bosses a little too much because that was kind of like one of the appealing things about the original game was like you could there wasn't like infinite ways to kill the bosses, but like there were a fair few ways to like deal with most of the bosses in the original game.
So how long have you been speedrunning again?
About 4.5 years.
During those 4 years, how has the speedrunning community evolved over time? Like, what changes have you seen for like the game, in terms of the game strategies and technology used?
Um, obviously the community has gotten bigger. I don't know if MM's community has like drastically gotten bigger. It like it has periods where it's like at a really high point, then at a low point. Like MM can have like like lows for months, but I would say that we've definitely and just speed games in general have definitely tried to like help out newer players with like better resources or just like obviously having helpful discords. Um, and like speedrun tech also has been evolving for MM and other games as well. Like back in like I guess let's take 100% for example. Back in 2018, 100% did the entirety of the Oceanside Spider House, but in 2019, um, a few glitch hunters. I think it was maybe it was just Seedborn, but he found a way to get both wallets from the banker because technically you can get either wallet from the banker. Like the wallets are progressive. It's like if you do the Spider House first, you'll get adults, or if you do the banker first, you'll get adults. So yeah, it was found that like you could use a trick called a collection delay to um, delay setting the flag for the, uh, the 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 bank wallet, so you could just get both wallets from it. And that was like definitely one a really big discovery for 100%.
Is
there's
that
been some
is
other
that the
stuff for it too.
glitch? Is that the glitch that is done in the no major glitches? Like in the
Yep,
first cycle or so?
yep, it is.
Okay. I was not sure, so that's why I'm asking, but that is very interesting.
Yeah, that ended up saving like 2.5 minutes. It was a pretty big discovery. And like when it comes to MM's growth, there are always people trying to like innovate their routes or find new strats. Like any percent NMG, for example, there have been a lot of runners who have been very innovative, like a like human protractor or like a the sausage those people have been very impactful for like just that category as a whole. And obviously like the routers like Giga and Imbued are also like, big helps for just the game overall.
Um so where do you what are your goals for your speedrunning career? And what do you see like in the future of the speedrunning community?
um I think my my I guess personally my current goals, I definitely want to be a more well-rounded player in terms of like categories because I'm kind of like mostly known for glitchless. Like I started with glitch categories, but for like many years I've mostly just been playing glitchless. Um, what was the second part of the question?
How do you see the future of the speedrunning community?
Um, just like speedrunning as a whole, I think it's like just gonna keep growing. Like I feel like in recent years, like the past 3 or 4 years, there have been a lot more like smaller, like obviously games done quick is like a big thing in like ESA, but there have been like a bunch of smaller like online uh marathons that have happened, like smaller, like mid-sized ones. Like I've commentated a lot of those for a dope who's like done 100% on those. So yeah, I think speedrunning is just gonna keep growing. I do think about sometimes though, like how older games like this will be in like 10, 15 years when it comes to their speedrunning popularity, just because like at that time this game will be like pretty old. So I do wonder like how many people will be playing this game in like 10, 15 years. But I think right now it's just gonna keep growing, just as a whole, speedrunning.
Yeah, I agree as well. And that's not just for, Majora's Mask either. That's like all the games,
Yeah,
some of
like
the older
yeah.
type games, even like Ocarina of Time, Mario, all these games, they're just some have like died down a little bit like over the years of me watching Richard Sage, who is a Ocarina of Time defeat Ganon no SRM speedrunner. His category that he plays in was dying down a little bit. I think he said a couple times that he only had like maybe 3 4, including himself, like 3 or 4 people running it at the time. And now, the year 2023, it kind of just popped up. you know it kind of blew up in popularity, and now we have like, I don't know how the exact number, but I think we have like maybe 10, give or say, or like, I know we have like 3 or 4 runners back. I know Torj is back speedrunning it. So, but yeah, it's just some games have their down slope and all that, and sometimes it just will randomly come popping back up. So
Yeah, especially smaller games. Like sometimes it just takes like one person coming back to kind of create that spark for like motivation.
oh yeah, I agree as well. Um, so you are currently doing 100% glitchless. Now, after this, do you plan on doing another category or a different type of game?
Um, it's been kind of hard like balancing speedrunning with my new work life, but hopefully if I can like have a good mindset and practice regimen, I'm gonna go back to 100% no major glitches, which I was doing a bit prior. I kind of stopped that though because when I started my job, I had a hard time like keeping up with practice because compared to like 100% glitchless, the no major glitches variant is like way higher maintenance to like stay in practice and just like getting runs going. Even though it's a shorter category, it's definitely a lot harder than glitchless.
Yeah, and like, and plus that's a 4 hour run, so it's like
Yeah,
that's and that's not including if you're say 2 hours in, and then all of a sudden the run dies and you restart, and then you get an actual run that goes to either that is close to PBing our world record. That's like 6 hours right there out
yeah,
of the
you're playing
day.
like 6.5, 7 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, would you prefer a speedrunning a longer category where you don't have where you can still save time even if you lose time in the beginning, or would you rather stick to a shorter category where if you have a mistake or anything you could still reset and still have another run going?
Uh, the shorter categories definitely became more appealing to me when I like started to get busier, but like I think like at heart I prefer the longer categories where there's just always room for like improvement and just like you get to see more of the game. I usually prefer those.
Yeah, no, me personally, I would stick with I think it would be I say 3 to 4 hours. So probably I would stick with like the longer categories. Um, but some days, switching it up isn't that bad either. And like going to a either learning or going back to a shorter category isn't too bad. But I would go with the longer categories. It would just take up more of my day, you know, and just make the days go by a little bit quicker. And you have, people hanging in chat, talking, having conversation, and it just you're having fun. And that's what the whole speedrunning and streaming thing all wraps around. Is just you having fun playing your favorite video game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say
Um
like my ideal speedrun length is like pretty much like glitchless 70%, like 2.5, a little over 2 hours. That's like perfect in my opinion.
um what do you think in like a couple of years time, do you think we're going to um find another like really big major glitch, or no?
Um I think it's hard to say. A lot of like the biggest discoveries usually don't really have anything like that like came before them as in like ideas for them. Like I feel like a lot of them just kind of come out of the blue. Like tricks like like a quip swap. We had like I wasn't around for this, but from what I understand, people had like no like ideas for that or like how it would be done. I think it just like happened on accident at some point. Like I feel like a lot of the really big stuff is kind of just stumbled upon, but who knows? I
Yeah,
think like I think something impactful, like something we've had ideas for like years is getting in. So obviously we have human in first cycle with still reference manipulation, but it is possible there's a world where we could do it without um with the use of some glitches. If we were able to get any mask in first cycle, we would be able to to end up human in first cycle, and pretty much our only lead on that is clipping into Cafe's hideout on day or night 3 to get the Keaton mask. But without explosives, we don't have enough way like a good way to get enough speed at as a as Deku to be able to do that.
Now, so we do have the any percent, which does get rid of first cycle. Do you think the community could implement that in like their own category for like either 100% or something like that? Because you get hookshot, Goron, and fierce deity, right? I think those are the three items that you get in the any percent. Do you
Yeah, it's
think Yeah, do you think that could be a own its own 100% category, or is
um
that too powerful of a glitch?
I'm not sure. I think MM is like I don't know that there's like really any demand for like a unrestricted like 100% category. Even the Hondo no pointer manip that allows like some SRM, like no one's run that in like a while. I think there's just like not much interest for it. I think people mostly stick to the NMG categories or glitchless.
Okay. Well, we're about to hit the 1 hour, so I have one final question. Um, what advice would you give to someone who is interested in getting into speedrunning?
Um, I would say I would say just like don't like base your expectations off of like what top players can do or even like what mid tier players can do. Like you really have to go at your own pace. And I would also say like just use all the resources you have at your disposal. Like join discords, find routes, like l- look at the Majora's Mask like directory on Twitch. Um, I would also say like don't like have like a good mindset. Like try not to like slack on practice or like learning. Like try to have a good balance because then you're definitely gonna get get better faster that way.
Now
And
with
obviously, sorry, as we discussed earlier, like watch people play. Just like that's
yeah.
just always a good tip.
Now with practice, how with the same things coming into like the advice, like how long should you practice for, like a day?
Um, for like learning a route.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of depends like how long the category is or how thorough you want to be. But I would say definitely don't like just like read a route and just like do a run. Like at the very least, like go in the practice codes and like at least like run through the route and develop like some semblance of muscle memory or just like know what you need to do. You don't have to do like all of like the um like muscle memory building and consistency building in practice. Like that's kind of up to you, but I would say definitely just like have a good idea of what you at least like want to do in runs, and not go into runs and be like, actually, I don't know like what strat I want to do here. Like I don't know what I'm even supposed to be doing here.
All right. Well, I think this has been a really good first episode. Uh I appreciate you coming on out and being a part of the show. Uh it's been fun, hanging, learning from your perspective of what being in being a speedrunner and how like you came up to speedrunning in your all your insight and everything as well. Um so I really do appreciate you coming in. Uh so do you have any questions for me before we wrap up?
Um, I guess, or I guess I'm a little curious. I guess, uh, I'm guessing you're planning on trying to do this podcast like somewhat consistently, or like however often you can like reach out to people and get responses. Because I
Yeah.
definitely want to see more.
Depending on how many people respond, I'm hoping either twice a week or at the latest once a month. Uh, but yeah, that is just like if depending on how many people reach back out and so on and so forth. But that is up to you, the viewers. Right now on Twitch or later on YouTube. That is up to you. If you guys like this type of content and you guys want more podcasts, this is a speedrunners podcast. First ever in the world. Probably clickbait. But it's I've never seen a speedrunners podcast before, and I think it would be awesome to learn from other speedrunners and how they all started and their backstory and so on and so forth. So if you guys want more, all I do is ask is you follow the YouTube, which is explanation podcast in both of our chats, and there is the YouTube channel where this is going to be posted on. So, but all I ask is to just spread this like wildfire. Um, there's a lot of speedrunners out there. There's a lot of people who are pace pals. So, um, but it is up to the viewers to share, like, and make this grow. So,
Yeah, I definitely think we need more speedrun content like this, more podcasting and stuff like that.
so, we have now reached over the 1 hour. Do you have any more questions or anything you want to say? You can also, this is also giving you a time to plug in um, your Twitch, YouTube, or whatever as well. And I will also have his stuff in the description down below, so you can go follow him and watch some of his speedruns because he's pretty cracked at the game, if I do say so.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to come over and follow me, then yeah, I would do that. I've definitely been like a little inconsistent at playing the game, but I'm currently learning 100% glitchless. Hopefully, gonna do runs of that on the weekend, maybe starting next weekend or so. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna try to keep up playing the game.
Well, you did say you have a job as well, so that
Yeah,
that comes first. But if you ever go live and you guys have some time to spare, go give Jess a follow on Twitch and go wish him some good luck. And I wish you good luck, sir, on your current speed runs and routing and practice and all that.
thank you,
All
and
right.
also thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and I like I said earlier, I do hope this pops off. So I think, like you said, I think the speedrunning community needs something where they have a speedrunner's voice, that they can actually like listen to and uh get conversation on where they came from and so on and so forth. So I really think
Yeah,
this is a good idea. So but with that, I wish everyone, a good day. And this is the Pace Pals podcast, and we are signing off. Peace, guys.
later.